Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Breaking Boundaries podcast. So, good morning. It's quite early one for us today, but we've got the amazing Josh Bridgman on the podcast today. So, firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do this, especially obviously you've got a very, very busy schedule. So, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. But if you don't know who Josh is, I mean, you should, but if you don't, then obviously your journey is honestly truly inspirational, like not just to like male competitors, not even just to competitors, but to so many people across the business and fitness industry. Watching your season this year has, to IFBB PRO has been incredible to see. And it's just been an incredible accomplishment for starters. But your mindset and that one more rep mentality, I think, is what has been really drilled into so many people and probably changed a lot of people's lives, as dramatic as that does sound. But before we get into absolutely everything, we obviously know that you haven't been not necessarily unwell, but obviously you just had surgery. Yeah. So how are you feeling? How are you? How's your week been?
It's been pretty good, to be honest. Like I'm having a remarkable recovery, which is amazing. Very nice to say. I was a little bit gutted initially when I found out that I had to have surgery and potentially have 4. And you know what? You talk to normal people when you say, I need 4 weeks off the gym. And they're like, it's all right.
Oh,
you talk to a bodybuilder and they're like, oh, fuck. 4 weeks. I'm like, yeah. So initially I was like, oh, fucking have 4 weeks. But actually it didn't go too bad. Obviously had a very good surgeon. And the recovery has been really good. So I've been subpar training for the last 5 to 6 days, which has kept my mentality at bay. And I'm building up since then. So
that's actually something that I was going to touch on, really. I guess, like, how has if you don't mind discussing this, how has your head been with it all? Because, like you say, I know personally, even a deload kind of week, I'm literally there like scratching at the walls. So, how's your head been? I guess you've got a good circle around you, right?
Yeah, it's exactly that. And maybe initially I might throw my toys out my pram a little bit and been a bit kind of put myself in the gutters because this is my dream and blah blah blah. But really, I mean, if I took myself out of the situation, I just competed. If there was time to take off, it was potentially right then. Yeah. Rather it post show when or rather the post show than mid prep or
imagine
in the middle of my off season or anything like that. So I had to take the positives and just focus on those and kind of reframe the way I looked at it. And once I kind of came at peace with that, every day's been all right, actually. It's not been too bad.
Was it pretty much like straight post show that you like got the hernia?
You know what? I actually think, and I look back at my photos, that I had the hernia for a while.
Really?
Potentially like for months, but just because I think because where I was dieting and I had no like food in my stomach really, I didn't really see it like protrude because it's actually like just your intestines poking out through a hole, which is pretty grim. Yeah. That face is exactly the face that I made. It's grim. It's like a splitting in your abdominals and your insides come out. So where I started eating more food post competition and I got bloated, right, my little belly button's poking out and I'm like, ooh, I think that might be a hernia.
Yeah, it doesn't look right, that.
Yeah. So it was like 2 or 3 weeks after.
I'm not gonna lie, I was doing like hanging leg raises the other day and my lower stomach started to hurt. I was like, yo, is this a hernia? Am I gonna die?
I know.
It's good to hear. I'm glad that obviously you're on the road to recovery now. And like you said, it couldn't have come at a better time. You got to think, girls have boob jobs. They have to have a couple of weeks off, a couple of months off. So perfect time, get it done, and then you can bosh straight forward. Exactly. What's the plans now? Are you like really easing yourself into training or?
People probably see me training and think I'm not easing in, but I am easing in. I am like slowly building things back in. I haven't really trained like with my core engaged just yet, so I haven't done like deadlifts, RDLs, hip thrusts, or anything like that. I'll probably start to build that in this week. I'm hoping by week 4, which is when they told me I could start training, that I should be ready to start actually training like properly like a bodybuilder again. So I'm hoping the next 2 weeks, I'll be back to full throttle, and I can just push off into my off season.
Yeah, I can imagine it's like the bracing and everything is super
Exactly
difficult.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Do you think you feel like a little bit more apprehensive as well, like going back into it because you know it's happened?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, and like I'm thinking about the days when I get super aggressive on a deadlift, and are those going to be gone? I mean, I hope they're not, because like they're the parts of bodybuilding that I love. Put myself through a really good workout, but is that going to be in the back of my head somewhere? Like, you've already broke this hernia once, is it going to happen again?
Yeah.
I guess I've got to have confidence in the little mesh thing that they put in there.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's all right.
Yeah, I think we could worry about that though, like all the time with training. Like we could always be injuring ourselves. Like we're putting ourselves at risk by training the way that we do every day. So of course, because it's already happened to you, like it's going to be on the back of your mind. But equally, we can't waste time just worrying about stuff that could always happen anyway.
No, completely right. Completely right.
So I guess, yeah, I was gonna kind of go back to the beginning, because you started off as a natural athlete for a very, like, a long time.
Yeah.
A long time nowadays anyway. People are on stuff for their first season. So that in itself is amazing to hear, you know, and again, quite inspirational for many young bodybuilders getting into it. So genuinely, why did you start to compete for the first time? Like, and why in those natural federations?
I think initially, I basically what happened is I did a lot of sport, had the strength and conditioning side alongside it, got injured, standard story, and just kept with the strength and conditioning. But slowly realized there wasn't just like strength and conditioning exercises, there was bodybuilding exercises. And as I got stronger and stronger each week, and like I just fell in love with that daily progression, that weekly progression, knowing that you come in the next week and you've beaten what you did last week and you just feel better for it. And kind of got in that cycle of things, completely oblivious of bodybuilding. And then it kind of got to the point where a few people noticed my physique. A few people would say, you should try something. I'm like, what is that? Like, what is bodybuilding? Like, is it you get on a stage and do what? I'm like, okay, this sounds very, very strange.
I don't want to get in my pants.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. What would I get in my pants for? Here at the next competition in my pants. And actually, it came to one of my friends. He literally just nudged me into it. He said, come on, you got to do this. Like, you look good. Just do it. And I did a competition called Mr. University at university.
Oh, cute.
And I was in it was like a fitness modeling competition. So I had like some real small briefs on. I was like 21. All my mates came to watch me, and I was like, oh, here we go.
You're literally there like, girls, where you at? Yeah. You see me?
I don't know. I felt a bit insecure, to be honest. I wasn't really like feeling all confident. And honestly, like I did it. The whole process was incredible. I mean, you guys know, like the people you meet was probably the biggest thing. Like, oh, there's people like me. There's people that like this stuff as well. You know, there's people that talk about training and nutrition and recovery just for fun. I'm like,
and get excited by the topic
exactly,
as well.
Yeah, exactly. So like I fell in love with that process, and enjoyed my time on stage so much that I started going, all right, I want to do this. Right, where do I go? Where are the federations that I do this to compete against people, to climb a ladder, and kind of just started on that journey from there.
That's really cool. When did the actual IFBB dream set in though? Because you see a lot of people, like, they first get into bodybuilding, first thing they look at is like, I want to be in the IFBB. I want to be an IFBB pro.
Oh, I'm going to be a pro.
They jump straight over to the IFBB. Obviously, like, going assisted comes along with that as well, because realistically you cannot achieve that naturally in most cases. And as a result, like, most people just hop straight on that. And for you, like, I'm just interested as to like when that set in and why you actually continued to compete naturally for such a long time.
I think I'm very blessed in the fact that I wasn't engrossed in Instagram at the very start. And I kind of was maybe naive. I was pretty naive, actually, to just what was actually happening in the industry with people using steroids. So like, I was proud of being natural. I was the guy who was never going to take anything, because I'm going to beat these guys anyway. You know, I'm going to turn pro naturally.
Relatable.
But you know what, you can do it. You can do it, because I did it for a while, and I kind of held that mentality for a long time. Literally like 6 years I was doing it. But working my way up the ranks, I had a couple of years in juniors. You're not going to get a pro card in juniors. Then it was UKBFF at that time. that was giving out the pro cards. You know, I went straight from juniors into the men's. I came 5th in the British finals. I'm like, if I'm coming 5th and I'm 23, like, give me a couple years, I'm going to win this thing.
Yeah.
Went back the next year, came 2nd. I'm like, oh, if I won, I'm in the overall and I'm getting my pro card. I'm like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then I was like, right, I'm going to take 2 years off, because I've never taken 2 years off as a natural athlete. All the smart guys are telling me I need to take time off to put size on my physique if I'm going to be natural. Right, that's what I'm going to do. Did 1 year off season. In that year off season, UKBFF just whatever lost their ability to give a pro card. It switched over to 2 Bros Pro, and then the pro cards they gave that year, I went, oh shit, like actually that's not possible anymore, because they went from the pro cards they were giving out at UKBFF were very much like, if you've got potential to be a pro, we're going to give you the card.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, you need to be a pro
in the leagues.
Yeah,
like,
and I agree with it. I agree with it. Like,
Yeah,
it's how it probably should have been. So then I got 18 months into that 2 year off season, and I went, kind of looked at the response after the last 18 months and the growth, and I went, it's probably not going to happen. Like, I probably need something else to get me there. I need to jump on. I don't want to say jump on anabolics, but I need to take that journey.
Yeah.
And yeah, after a long period of time, I kind of was at peace with it. 25, so I competed since I was 20, so it was, or maybe even 19, so it was 5 to 6 years of being natural, but chasing that dream as a natural, and then realizing I probably can't get there.
Was it just like a gradual process of you wanting to go towards being an IFBB pro instead of being like a WNBF pro or something like that?
I never really had that thing in me for WNBF. I never have that, like, I want to be a top natural bodybuilder. I mean, it's great, but that was never the physique that I wanted for myself. Yeah. It's more the physique I wanted for myself. I mean, the pro card's great, and it is the dream now, but originally it was like, I want to look like my dream guys, and yeah. My genetics dealt me the card that I couldn't do that naturally. So, you know, even some of the kids who are natural, who are at the top of the game, I'm not even close to these guys. So, you know, I need to go a different route.
Yeah, definitely. What do you honestly think to like guys, like young guys who are sort of similar age to you when you wanted to kind of turn pro, but they've maybe not competed yet, but they also want to achieve that similar physique. So they want that IFBB pro physique. They've not competed yet, not been training that long. Do you also like recommend or think it's a good idea for people to compete naturally for a while, or at least maybe do like a couple of preps naturally before they decide to go assisted? I know it's kind of like a different decision, different way to look at it for males than it is to females, because there's a risk for everyone, but females, there's a bigger risk, and it's probably like a bigger decision. What do you really like say to those guys who are thinking of doing that, in terms of like what they should do in terms of, you know, either going assisted or competing naturally?
I think if they're fresh, they've never been into a prep before, you've got to do one. You've got to do one to understand the sacrifices, the pressure, how hard it fucking is. Like, you've got to know that you want it that bad enough that you can drag yourself through 20 weeks of prep and getting, you know, skinless. Like, until you've done that, like you might get there when you've been assisted for however many years and go, I can't fucking do this.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have the drive to do this anymore. So you've got to find those baselines. You've got to establish really that you want to do this, because you've done it for a few years, you've prepped a few times, you know, even if you prep once, like, and your dream then becomes and opens up and you want to be an Olympia stage, okay, cool, you can do it, but go through that process at least once, and understand the pressures that come with it first.
Yeah, I think that's really important, you know, because I think this may cause a bit of a split, but I find that whenever I speak to natural athletes, like 90% of the time, they do not miss a fucking beat, because natural athletes, they can't afford to, right? And then you speak to assisted athletes, and a lot, I would actually say like 40-50% of them, they won't necessarily think about their sleep. They won't think about, like, they won't nail their maybe mealtime and things like that, because they don't actually have to, because they can get away with it. So I feel like if you're natural for a few years, you can get that, you can understand how important those little things are. And then when you go assisted with all those little things, you're gonna just blow up. Whereas if you just kind of hop straight on, you don't learn that initial like importance of all those all those little things. So they'll tick the boxes, but they're not fucking nailing everything.
That's the best thing that I ever did was stay natural for as long as I did, because you realize how hard the journey is. 5-6 years of putting 3 or 4 kilos of muscle on and stuff like that. Like taking a year out is never going to be a big deal at any point in my career, because I've taken years out. I've worked for 5-6 years naturally, and the progress has been so slow. The progress is never going to be that slow for me anymore. So like
that's exciting.
After walking that walk, like it's cool. Like whatever time I need, I can put that in, because you really realize the long game and the natural game for sure.
Yeah. On that note, what is, obviously we're now heading, you're now heading into the Olympia, and that is the goal, right? But have you got like a time frame on that? Or because we spoke to Kuba a couple of weeks ago, and he literally gave like an age, and if he doesn't hit it at a certain age, then he quits.
Yeah.
Like for you, is it, I'm gonna just keep fucking going until the death, or
ride or die? I think I have very realistic expectations for myself, and I think realistically speaking, when I'm going into my rookie year, into the pro debuts and whatnot, it's going to be an outside chance, and I need that outside chance to even compete personally. Like I need to know that there is a slither of hope that I might get it. But realistically, it's probably not going to happen, right? On the odds are it might not happen next year, but in the year after, I would be expecting it to happen just off my own timeline. If it doesn't, I'll give it another year. If I'm at that point where my entire career doesn't depend on it, then potentially I would look at backing away, because I also understand that I'm doing things to my body that aren't going to extend it for very long. I probably got a little bit higher of a lifespan in bodybuilding than an open bodybuilder, for example, because I'm not pushing things as hard. I don't need to push things as hard to get that big. But if I'm not like meeting my expectations, which I feel are realistic, then I would be less inclined to carry on, I think.
I think that's really important, to be honest. Like a lot of people, they'll always ask like, oh, what is the goal? But I think it does just depend season to season, right? Like there's no point in you sitting here being like, yeah, within 2 seasons, I'm going to get to here, because you haven't even addressed the coming season. So anything can happen. You could get down to that stage physique and you could like blow them out the fucking water, or you could stand there and be the smallest one there. You don't know yet. So
exactly.
Yeah, no, makes sense. On that note as well, you did touch on you've got so many other things going on. Like obviously, yes, you are an athlete, but you've got clients, you've got 1MR, you've got your YouTube as well. Like it's all going so well. What kind of goals are you heading towards for that in the long term? Are you going to make 1MR like the brand?
Yes,
the go-to?
Yeah, that's the goal. 100%. Like I want to be, a world renowned name, like a new up and coming company that you can trust, and no matter what you get, you're gonna really get some good stuff from it. Obviously we've got the accessories part of it, which is sort of becoming a niche in its own.
Yes,
we kind of slowly but surely
everywhere now. Everywhere it's like in Ultraflex, like just see everyone's using the 1MR cuffs. Like it's just insane.
Yeah, it's mental. I can't even believe it, honestly. When I hear that, I'm just like, wow, this is mental. It is mental. But just keep like innovating, keep trying to be a company that I'm proud of, with really, really good morals, and build it into something that's worldwide, and hopefully cross the water eventually, and be a household name. And then obviously we've got the YouTube and Instagram. Like I do want to actively grow those. Like I want 1 million followers. Like I want that shit, right? Because I know that with that comes a lot of responsibility, but a lot of power and a lot of ability to do my goal of educating people, helping people, inspiring people, and giving my family a good life as well. That's also the goal. I'm not going to shy away from that.
And obviously, like you as an athlete, your career as an athlete, everything you've built up, like that's what stands behind that brand, and that's what's really like giving it like so much leverage. But now you're obviously at a point where you have so many people who know who you are, like so many people that know your brand, they know who you are as an athlete, they follow you on social media. Do you find that does like sit on you quite a lot in terms of the pressure that you get from that. And particularly when, you know, you started bodybuilding because like you just enjoyed it. And, you know, now like you've built everything around it, which is incredible, but equally it brings along a lot of pressure and a lot of eyes. And like, how have you found actually handling that? And especially going into like, now you've got these big goals of, now that you're a pro, you want to win pro shows, you want to go to the Olympia. Like, how are you actually finding that pressure sitting on you?
I definitely struggled with it a little bit during this prep. It was quite difficult. I'm quite good at like separating myself from social media, and like, you know, people comment on during my prep, 100% pro card, guaranteed pro card. You know, and it's like, you don't know because you don't know who's turning up. So I'm quite good with just taking myself out of that and being like, cool, doesn't matter. Thank you for the comment. It's cool.
Yeah.
Being quite subjective. Right?
Exactly that. Like, I listen to Cal, my coach.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, who else? Like, literally, there's nothing else to like worry about. But when it's 50, 60 comments every single day for months and months and months and months, the weight does get bigger. And actually, one of the biggest things of winning my pro card was like, I felt that weight go, it was quite a relief. Which I don't think it took away from that win at all, which was nice. I thought it might do, because I felt that pressure building, people just expecting it, people causing a riot when I didn't get it the first time, and like trying to insult the other dude. I'm like, come on, like, this is not bodybuilding.
It's just we don't exactly
do that. We don't do that in bodybuilding. We support everyone, because he's worked just as hard as I have, right? So it's just it's irrelevant. So I definitely felt it. But I feel like I did a good job of managing it as such. But there were definitely times in my private life where I was just like a little bit anxious, a little bit like, wow, there's a lot of pressure riding on this. There's a lot of people expecting this to happen. And obviously with the YouTube series, like, it just kept building and building and building, and like, it just like snowballed. And yeah, it was a big relief at the end. I don't know how that weight of pressure is going to translate into next year. I kind of feel like I'm a little bit less pressure next year because it's rookie season. Don't expect me to win shit. Come on. Hopefully, but you know, social media is strange times, strange at the best of times. But yeah, it's real. Like, that pressure is real, and you can deal with it the best that you can, but it's still in the back of the head still.
Even with like sharing on social media, because like you said, you're trying to build up your YouTube and everything like that. Are you trying to be a little bit reserved as well with the amount that you share, like when it comes to your personal life as well? Because there's a point where you can get to when you start to share so much, and then it's like people really think they know who you are.
They really think they do. I think because me and you, Los, we obviously share quite a lot on Instagram.
2 followers though.
Where you, yeah.
You know what you're on about.
No, but as in you keep your page like quite professional and very, very educational, whereas like I'll just be a twat. Like, so
it's equally like, it's something that myself and AJ have been careful with, because like, he's obviously been in a relationship before where a lot of people had eyes on it, and like this time, like, we just don't want, you have to be careful with what you share, because people then really think they know who you are, and it just becomes a bit messy. And like, you have to be careful on that border of sharing your personality and showing who you are, but also like having your own life as well.
Boundaries.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think I've consciously reserved part of that of myself from that. I think what helps is my girlfriend's not even on social media. She doesn't do any of that shit. So
nice though.
Yeah, it's just like, there's no pressure for me to like, I don't need to, like, my previous relationship, if I wasn't putting her in my story, there was an issue. I mean, that's a story for another relationship issue. But but Amy's just like, why are you tagging me for? Don't put me in there. Like, people are gonna follow me. Don't do that. So that's quite nice. I don't like, I have no obligation to show her off and have her on the social media.
That's down to her own like security. Like, she's just like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, 100%.
That's her own confidence. I love that.
Yeah, for sure. She's just like, nah, don't put me on there. Also, social media is a harsh place, for sure. Like, YouTube is fucking brutal.
Very few people on YouTube are horrible.
It's like a different game over there. It's mental because you can't find them.
Yeah.
But I've had some awful comments in the time that don't affect me, but they affect my family. And if they read them, they're like, so I just don't. There's no need for me to put my entire life on there. I still like, I consciously try and remain human. Like I consciously try and put things that are funny if I'm having an issue or like whatever, trying to be myself, because that is also me as well. Like I am.
You're not just a bodybuilder.
Exactly.
You're Josh.
So exactly. So I do try and find the balance, but not so much that people are invested in my girlfriend, invested in my mum's story, invested in all this stuff, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
too much.
I think that's a nice way to be honest. Also on that note, like there was obviously a lot of focus on sort of like you and Tom and Joe as well, like this prep. And I know like Joe's kind of moving to Dubai, isn't he? And Tom's kind of like backing away a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was like a really strong dynamic as well throughout this prep, and a lot of people had eyes on it. And how do you like feel about that, like moving forward as well? Like, I obviously don't know how like things are changing with that, but has that sort of had a lot of eyes on it as well? And like going into your next off season, like how are things going to be different there?
Yeah, that was crazy. That whole BBC thing was crazy, and we did have something there. But I'm pretty sure it's done. Like it's done. Like Tom's moved on. Tom's not going to be bodybuilding anymore. Joe isn't moving to Dubai anymore. I don't know if I should say that, but he's not moving to Dubai anymore.
Exclusive.
Yeah, he's moving to Bath. So like I live in London. We all lived in the same place in London. So that's gone. And that's honestly like that's hit me hard. I don't enjoy that because it was the biggest.
It was probably such a push, like
exactly.
Social media aside,
it was great for social media. It was great for business, but for me, which comes first, the athlete comes first over all my businesses. Winning that title came over everything. I needed that, and it was a big part of my achievement. Was how the progress we made in the off season was ridiculous. When we came back together during prep, it was so motivating, and it is a shame that ship has now sailed. But I have to find some new partners.
Yeah, you will do.
Me and Loss will just pop down. No stress. You didn't need to ask. Didn't need to ask. So I also wanted to actually talk about like Cal, because how long have you been with him now?
3 years.
3 years. Okay. And would you say like the dynamic, because obviously you're so like educated yourself within the whole bodybuilding process, would you say that you're still learning things from him day to day, or what's the kind of dynamic there? Is he literally, you do this and you just like, yeah, cool, or do you have like a conversation about it, or
I'm very much the subordinate. I am
submissive.
I'm just like, you know how dogs just go on the back like that. That's literally me. Like, you know what I really love about our relationship is that we have a really good friendship. Yeah. But the moment that we talk bodybuilding, I'm like, okay, he's the boss, and we can really, really draw the line very well with coaching and our friendship. I've been in for 3 years. I know his girlfriend. We all good friends, but we can draw the line really, really well. So
I find that so important.
So important. Because otherwise you just blur those lines and you say something that you shouldn't say to your coach at the time, and it just kind of starts a downfall. But I learn things from that guy every single day. I mean, he has a huge, huge impact on my life, my mindset, my business, the way I conduct myself in my business. And he is consistently learning. He is consistently leveling up his game. What we did this year for prep was completely different from the last time we did it, because his game has leveled up.
Yes.
Leveling him up, I've got no choice but to level up. So yeah, I'm always learning from him. I think the moment that I probably stop learning and I think, right, we're on par now, it's never going to happen. It would be the time that I'd probably look for another coach who I feel like, okay, love me again, I can learn some more off them. But I can't see a world where that's going to happen with Cal at this point.
No, that's wicked though.
Yeah, it's exciting. Are you changing the game plan for this off season coming? Are you like doing anything new there? Or if you're allowed to say?
Probably not. Probably the same shit. You know what bodybuilding is? It's like the same shit every day, just another year on, and you've just accrued a little bit more. People say, what are you going to do in your off season different? I'm going to repeat what I did.
I'm going to literally do prep, but more food.
Exactly.
Actually, can you divulge how much you eating? Like, let me live through you for a sec.
I eat just over 4,000 calories, which is not too bad.
Yeah, Hannah's starving right now, so
I've actually just got into like a bit of a like refeed diet break week. Nice. So the carbs have gone up and I'm more hungry.
Yeah, you will be.
Yeah. which is
Awesome.
great. I find like that's actually the purpose, right? It's exciting.
Yeah.
But I actually got to 3,800 in my off season.
That's high.
Yeah, I am 5'8".
Still high.
I know. I was also fat, but in a good way. You know? I was a little blob. Yeah, well, I've lost like peak off season. I was 78 kilos. So
Strong.
You're almost the same weight as me now, and I'm 4'11". That shows something terrible.
You might be 4'11".
Yeah,
you're probably half of Josh, right?
dwarf. Anyway, we don't want to like keep you on for too long because we know you've got things to do. But like we massively appreciate you coming on today. It's been absolutely wicked. On like a final note, have you got anything at all that you want to share, like a final message that you kind of want to say to anyone?
One more rep.
Put you on the spot.
One more rep. There's always
yes.
one more to give wherever you are.
Amazing. But anyway, hope you have a good rest of your day, Josh. Thank you so much to everyone for listening as always. And we will be back again to chat soon.